The House now comes to questions for oral answer, and the first question stands in the name of the Leader of the Opposition, David Shearer.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister, does he stand by his statements with regard to asset sales?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, including my statement that the government would set out its mixed ownership policy well in advance of election 2011. We did. That was an election that saw Nationals' vote increase and Labor's vote decimated.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Does he stand by his statement that, quote, in the world of making the boat go faster, actually I don't think selling off state assets is going to make the boat go faster?
That's right. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, I stand by that quote in relation to the context that was given when I said, personally, I don't think that the issue is that the current economy, actually as we later on went to find out, Labor had so badly mismanaged the economy that we had a decade of deficits, Mr Speaker, and I think it's actually one of 120 things that will help a little bit.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Did he say, quote, there is no motivation to sell off assets, unquote, 10 days after Merrill Lynch collapsed, 10 days after Lehman Brothers collapsed, and 6 months after Bear Stearns collapsed, when the world was going into recession?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, and as I say earlier, in the context of what I said was, I personally don't think that's the issue that the current economy faces. Actually, the economy changed dramatically from there.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker, did he stand by his statement and answered oral question number 6 on 20 June last year that a brokerage fee for selling assets of 1.9% is very low?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, because at the time I was referring to some advice that the government had received about the range of fees, and they are up to about 10%, so 1.9% is quite low.
Michael Woodhouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister, what reports has he seen on mixed ownership models in other countries?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I've seen a very interesting report about a country that has well and truly embraced the mixed ownership model. That country, wait for it, is Finland. The large energy company Fortune is 51% owned by the Finnish government and 49% owned by a mix of other investors, including Finnish mums and dads. And the national airline, well, it's 56% owned by the Finnish government and the balance owned by Finnish mums and dads and others. This is the same country that is repeatedly held up as a shining example of where New Zealand should be going by none other than David Shearer.
The Leader of the Opposition. Order. Order. I've called the Leader of the Opposition.
Is it his view that $150 million fee?
Order. I apologise to the Leader of the Opposition. I want to be able to hear this question. The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Is it his view that the $150 million fee for selling state assets is very low? And is that a low amount to pay merchant bankers Goldman Sachs, Macquarie Capital and Credit Suisse?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, it's not confirmed that the fee would be in that magnitude. I certainly don't know that today, but what I do know is to release $6 to $7 billion worth of capital to be used for other assets is a good idea. Mr Speaker, I think it will lead to a brighter future, and that's something that David and Shearer and I both want, so maybe he should just cut to the chase and vote National.
Michael Woodhouse.
Thank you. To the Prime Minister, what other reports has he seen on mixed ownership models in other countries?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, I've seen a report that one of the directors of the mixed ownership energy company Fortune, which is 51% owned by the Finnish government, is none other than the former Finnish Prime Minister, Esko Aho. This is the same Esko Aho who was held up as an example of being a quote-unquote wise Prime Minister, making bold decisions to make his country a better place last week by David Shearer. As I say, Mr Speaker, if he wants a brighter future, he should just vote National.
The Leader of the Opposition. Order, I want to hear this question.
Is $150 million, quote, a very low amount to pay merchant bankers Goldman Sachs, Macquarie Capital and Credit Suisse? And how does it compare to spending just $2.8 million to enable local family violence services to continue providing services?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, you simply can't draw a comparison because everybody knows that you'll have to pay a fee to release that capital. But let's look at what that capital is going to be used for. $1 billion for 21st century schools. $400 million to lift New Zealand's GDP for irrigation of the South Island and North Island. Now, we know Labor don't like farming.
Order.
David Shearer said...
Order. I think that was sufficient answer, and what Labor might or might not think is not the Right Honourable Prime Minister's responsibility. Question number 2, Kevin Haig.
Mr. Speaker,